Hey, I was just sitting here working on some slides for a presentation, and it got me to thinking so much of the focus of pitching is based on the slides. Now, you can search YouTube right now, you will find hundreds, if not potentially thousands, of really great videos on what should be in your slide deck. 5 must have slides, the 8 must have slides, the 10 must have slides. All really, really good information when you're building out your pitch deck. But here's the thing, I have seen at this point in my career thousands of startup pitches easily. And one thing that dawned on me as I was thinking about this was that, so much of a really good pitch has absolutely nothing to do with the slides themselves. The slides are helpful, they're supporting content, and they drive the story forward. But what really makes or breaks a startup pitch, your startup pitch, is the storytelling. It's the scripting, or the voiceover, or the talk track, or whatever you want to call it. It's the words you say as you're presenting these slides. And this, more often than not, is the downfall for most founders. Slides alone won't do it. It's you and the story you're telling. And in my experience, in these thousands of pitches I've seen, there are 3 primary areas where this storytelling breaks down, or where founders have clearly not spent enough time thinking about these important aspects of the pitch. So what I would like to do is spend a few minutes with you, taking you through 3 incredibly important aspects of the script for your pitch that you need to spend significant time thinking through. And I'll take you through from the easiest to the hardest, and ones that are kind of partially solved by slides, down through one that is a scripting element that is completely independent of slides, that if you don't nail, your entire pitch will fall apart. Okay, so let's start. Let's not go into the doom and gloom immediately. Let's start with the easiest. First and foremost, this is in most startup pitch decks, especially if you're going after investment or you're in a competition or whatever, is the ask. I used to hate, I still hate using verbs as nouns, but it is what it is. They call it the ask. They call it the ask slide. Worst possible scenario is there's no ask at all. There's no slide, there's no voiceover, there's no request from the audience or the investors about what you're trying to accomplish or why you're there. What do you need from them? You have gathered people around you. People have shown up to hear you speak. They're there because they want to help you. So first and foremost, come up with an ask. It doesn't have to be for money. It could be as simple as sign up for our newsletter list, follow us on social, let me know if you'd like to be an advisor. It doesn't always have to be something associated with money, but you must always have an ask. You have a room full of people waiting to help you. Please always take the opportunity to ask them for the help you need. Again, this will usually be backed up by a slide of some sort, so there's some voiceover to complement the slide, and those two work in conjunction. But the other important part of the ask is fine tune it, finesse it every single time for the audience to whom you will be presenting. By way of saying, it does no good to show up to an audience that wants to hear more about your product and have the ask be for investment. It does no good to show up to an investor meeting where they're expecting you to ask for some kind of financial support and have the ask be something completely different. So, first and foremost, figure out your ask for the particular audience and make it an ask that that audience can reciprocate. Make sure they have the opportunity to give you what you're asking for based on who the audience is. As we're working through pie presentations, we refer to number 2 as the reveal. So this one takes a little more creativity and ingenuity. You probably would also like to have a slide supporting this, but whatever the case, the reveal is something you really need to think through, you really need to plan for, and you really need to make special. And this is the reason why. The reveal is something specific to the audience for this single pitch. The reveal is the first time you're saying something publicly to a group. The reveal is making these people feel special for having heard your reveal. So can be anything, can be new product release, can be a milestone you've hit, can be, investment you've closed, can be a news story that's going to break. Reveals can take all sorts of forms. The important thing is that you're setting it up as the first time this has ever been heard. That's why it's called a reveal. It's along the lines of, and today, for the first time ever, I'm happy to share with you that X, that we achieved this milestone, that our product will have this feature, that we've closed this fundraising, that we've landed this new customer. Again, takes some finessing and some work, but that part of the story, that part of engagement with the audience, that rapport you're building with those people, sharing this, what has been a secret, sharing that with this audience for the first time will make them feel special, will make them feel more engaged, will make them have more buy-in to the company, the product, and most importantly, you, the presenter, because you have taken the opportunity to share something with them. Okay, so ask, probably got a slide. Reveal, need some more creativity, got a slide, but really think through that. What's the special thing you can share with that audience? And now the most challenging aspect, that if you don't nail, your pitch will fail. It's so critical to engagement, to people following the story, to getting your story across to an audience and getting to the opportunity to not only hit the reveal, but also make your ask. And that critical element is the hook. The hook is the first thing you say. The hook needs to engage the audience, needs to get them to ask questions or be astounded by something or think about something. It basically needs to create drama at the beginning of the pitch in a way that causes the audience to lean forward and want to hear more. Now, this can be something very simple. It can be a few words. It can be a fact that might not be known to everyone in the audience. It can be, some news that has recently been revealed. But whatever the case, you need to use the first 15 seconds of your pitch tops to deliver a hook that is going to keep people engaged for the rest of your presentation. And that's why this is the most critical element that I encourage you to spend significant time on. At Pi, we spend weeks workshopping, working through potential hooks, test driving them with the audience, of peers, trying to figure out how to word it exactly, so that it lands with the audience the way you want it to. So spend time with this. It's a very, very short part of your presentation, but it's the most critical part. It doesn't even have a slide associated with it. It's all in your script. It's all in your storytelling. It's all in the voiceover, but it is the element that causes the audience to engage with you. So what is an example of a hook? One of my favorites was from a founder we had a few years back. I have lots of favorites, but this one, just because of the way she delivered it, was so compelling and caused the room to fall silent and people to pay attention. It was so simple and so well done that I always want to reference it. And the hook was simply this: I always thought that I was broken. And she paused and she let the room absorb that and people to lean forward to be like, what does she mean? She always thought she was broken. What is going on? Like, that's not a typical tech startup pitch. So that's a great example. Another great example is, we had a founder, I believe, in the same class. It was a lot of good hooks in that class. It was a stage presentation. So part of the uncomfortable part of a stage presentation is you have to walk out on the stage, and there's some time that it takes you to get from the wings to the stage, to center stage, where you're ready to present and bring up your presentation and that kind of thing. And this is not the right, these aren't the right numbers, but because I can't remember the right numbers, but basically the hook was something along these lines. Like, it takes him, 5 seconds to walk out onto stage, 10, maybe tops, walks out on stage, hits his mark, center stage. In the time it took me to walk out onto this stage, 24 hours of content was uploaded to YouTube. And it's just kind of one of those facts where you're like, what? 24 hours and 5 seconds? What are you talking about? Like, sometimes it can cause a little confusion or a lot of second guessing about what you're saying, or maybe people waiting to prove you wrong. Whatever the case, it hooks them in. It gets them paying attention. It gets them leaning forward. You cannot spend enough time on your hook. Okay, so work your hook, workshop your hook, test different hooks, all that kind of thing. The hook is the most critical part of your presentation. Give it the time it deserves, even though it doesn't have a slide. Here's your bonus. Your bonus final element is all of these things benefit from research about the audience to which you will be presenting. Okay, so like, you can't just repeat the same thing time and time again for every single audience, especially with the reveal. Like, you can only use the reveal once for that audience. Then you have to come up with a new reveal for a different audience, because if the same person happens to be sitting in both audiences and you've revealed the same thing twice, it's no longer a reveal, and that person will understand that and will probably communicate that. It's super important you do a lot of research on each of these things, figure out who the audience is, figure out what they can do, what they want, what they will find interesting, and that's how you craft all of these elements of your story. A story has basic parts, but the storytelling is particular to a specific audience. And without doing the research you need to do to craft a compelling story, the best slides in the world are never going to work. So spend some time on your story, spend some time on your storytelling, and make it an even more critical part of your pitch than the slides.